Hi everyone, my name is Leanne and today I'm going to be bringing you a classics book haul. I have 12 books to talk to you about today, most of which are in the Penguin English Library editions, and if you've been around this channel for a little while, you will know that these are the main editions of classics that I collect. So I feel like people, they make their choice at the beginning of their book collecting life. You know, are you going to be a Penguin cloth bound? Are you going to be a Penguin Black Spine? Are you going for the Macmillan Collector's Edition? You pick your edition and you stick with that. I know people that read a lot of classics will probably have multiple kinds of collections because not every book is published in every kind of edition. But for me, someone who doesn't really consider themselves a classics reader, I picked my edition and that's what we're collecting. So I've done lots of videos about my classics collections, about reviewing them, about hauling them, about showing my collection off overall. I will leave my classics playlist linked in the cards and in the description if you want to see more. But I'm not a huge classics reader. I'm much better at acquiring these books than I am at reading them. Although I did read one of my classics in July. Was it one of the shortest classics that I had? Yes, but it still counts. And it definitely is a life goal to read most of my Penguin English Library books. I've been building my collection over a number of years. Sometimes I've bought them new, sometimes they've been gifted to me. And actually most of my collection is secondhand. I've found them over the years in secondhand stores, in charity stores. And there are very few books left for me to collect. Some of them I haven't got yet because I know they're really accessible. They're still in print, so I'll be able to get them easily enough. Some of them are the really rare ones that are really difficult to get hold of because they're out of print. I'm actually going to put a list down in the description of the books that I'm still looking for in these Penguin English Library editions, in case you might be able to help me source the final few books in my collection. But yes, that is far too much of a preamble. Let's talk about the classic books. Also, I feel like I don't know what most of these books are about, so we're gonna discover that together. This one I do know a little about because it's Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. So I know the Disney-fied version of it, and I've seen a lot of other adaptations of Wendy and Peter. I actually dressed up as Tinkerbell last Halloween, and I think most of us probably know a gist of this story. You know, it's about the little boy that never wanted to grow up, about him whisking Wendy off to Neverland and fairies and pirates. But as with a lot of these classics that have been kind of Disney-fied, I'm sure that this is actually much darker than that children's film suggests to us. I'm expecting it to be a lot darker. I'm also expecting probably some problematic aspects to it as well. It's really interesting to think about the origins of these classic stories and then the Disney version and, you know, how we ended up with these two quite different versions of the one story. A Handful of Dust by Evelyn Waugh. I have another book by this author on my TBR. Apparently this is a bitterly funny novel of betrayal and selfishness that combines dazzling comedy with savage satire. Sometimes I feel like satire just kind of goes over my head and I'm not smart enough to understand what's going on. It says Lady Brenda Last is bored with her husband Tony. I mean, understandable. I love that she's called Lady Brenda Last and he's just Tony. He's just Ken. They live in a gothic monstrosity. She has an affair with a young socialite. Sounds fun. Next, I have The Scarlet Pimpernel by Baroness Orczy. I have not heard of this writer before. I know very little about this book, but it is about an aristocratic hero with a double life. It's set at the height of terror in Paris, where very few people are able to escape the guillotine, but there is an elusive Englishman that is helping people escape across the channel. He's a dazzling swordsman and escape artist, known only by the red flower on his calling card. The Scarlet Pimpernel. This sounds silly, and I'm in. I also have The Return of the Native by Thomas Hardy. Now, as I get a lot of my Penguin English Library books secondhand, the range of quality and condition of the book really varies. And The Return of the Native is one that has definitely seen better days, and I could probably do with cleaning it. Anyway, that doesn't have anything to do with the actual book. I have read a few Thomas Hardy books before and thought they were fine. I've just read the whole blurb of this and honestly nothing went in. Okay, I read it again and I think I kind of get the gist of it now. This seems like it's going to be one of those classic novels where there's a young beautiful woman who is super ambitious and really capable, but the society she's in restricts her being able to be ambitious. But there's also a man that she fancies there as well. Next. Okay, so this one I've actually read, so I kind of know what it's about. Don't think that because I've read it, I completely know what it's about. This is The Awakening by Kate Chopin. Chopin? Honestly, I'm just out here trying my best, guys. So this was published at the end of the 19th century, and it's basically about women's sexual liberation, and it caused like a bunch of controversy when it first came out because, oh my god, like you can't talk about women's sexual liberation. That's disgusting. Women having passion and pleasure and enjoying their lives. Oh shit, so there's not just the awakening in this. There's multiple stories in this, so I feel like I can't tick this off my TBR. So the awakening is included in this. It's the first and like lead story and like the longest one. And a pair of silk stockings, which I've also read, is included in this. But there are 3 other stories in there which I haven't read, but they're only like, they only total like 20 pages. So I'm gonna read those so I can actually say that I've read this whole book and then it's not adding to my TBR. Cool, thanks. I feel like I'm giving a lot of vocal fry today. Maybe I should try tone that down. Next I have Washington Square by Henry James. I have read some Henry James before. I think the only one I've read is The Turn of the Screw. So this is set in 19th century New York, and it is a devastating study of innocence destroyed. Love. So this is about Catherine, who is described as plain, and I love when women are described as plain in classic novels. They're just plain. They're Reggie salted. And someone starts courting Catherine, and he is like dashing. He's gorgeous and very determined. But Catherine's dad is like, absolutely not. Like, he's a fortune hunter. Like, get rid. And obviously Catherine is torn between like this hot guy that is trying to get her attention and she feels like super passionate about, and her dad who is like, no. And that's what the book is about, I think. Next I have The Way of the Flesh by Samuel Butler. So this is about a Victorian middle-class family and the young man in this family who like casts himself off to like find himself, to explore his identity, etc. He is the awkward but likable son of a tyrannical clergyman and a priggish mother. What does priggish mean? Going to Google priggish. Self-righteously moralistic and superior. I'm gonna start calling people priggish. I learned a new word today. We're about the education on this channel, you know? Anyway, it's about this guy like finding himself. It's giving gap year. The final Penguin English Library book I have 4 more other classics to talk about, but this is the final Penguin English Library book, is The 39 Steps by John Buchan, which is a gripping novel of espionage, murder, and pursuit. Apparently, this author invented the modern spy thriller. So this is about Richard Hannay, who returns to his London flat one night to discover a dead body. Oh my god. Just days after the victim warned him of a plot that could bring Britain to the brink of war. Suspected of murder, Hannay must go on the run in the wilds of his native Scotland and somehow try to warn the government before it's too late. You know, I've never really got into spies or like espionage stuff, but maybe this is the one. Maybe this is the story that will get me into them. What are the 39 steps? Because I feel like there should be like fewer steps. Like, could we not come up with a more efficient plan? Or are they like actual steps? Did someone push this guy down the stairs? Is that the answer? Did I solve the case? I should be a spy. Now I have 4 of these little classic books to talk to you about. So these 3 you will have heard me talk about in my March wrap up because I read them for the Irish Readathon, but I will just like talk about them super quickly. So Only Dull People Are Brilliant at Breakfast by Oscar Wilde. This is just kind of like a collection of quotes from Oscar Wilde. A Terrible Beauty is Born by W.B. Yeats. W.B. Yeats is one of my favourite Irish poets. I think if you are interested in like Irish history, then I would really recommend reading his poetry. And if you don't have like a full extensive collection, maybe one of these little ones is good to check out. I think that's what's really good about these little black classics, is like you can just have a little taste of something without committing to like a big expensive poetry collection. The End by Samuel Beckett, which I didn't understand. And finally I have Why Do You Wear a Cheap Watch by Hans Fallada. Fallada. Not too long ago, I was on holiday in Berlin and I really wanted to buy something from this super cute bookshop that we found, but I didn't really have any space left in my bag, and I also didn't want to spend a lot of money. On a lot of my holidays, I've liked to pick up a book and a bookmark from like the country that I've been to. Like, it's my version of getting a souvenir. Like, some people like magnets, I like books. These are darkly funny streetwise tales of low-life grifters and ordinary people trying to make ends meet in pre-war Germany. Very short little book. I should read this like right now. So there are all of the books that I'm going to talk to you about today. The way I talk about classic books is not how like the experts on classic literature talk about these sorts of books on BookTube. I'm very honest about like my lack of knowledge. I mean, I do know like a lot of stuff, to be honest. Like, I do have an English literature degree and I studied many classics, which I have lots of thoughts on, and I do have the skills to do like detailed close reading on these books, but like going into them, like before I've read them, I don't know what they're about. And I think many years ago when I was doing my English lit degree, in the years sort of straight after me graduating, I kind of really like pretended to know a lot about books that I didn't know anything about. And that just doesn't help anyone. Let me know if you've read any of these books and if you think there's anything I should know going into them. Did you enjoy them? Are there any particular editions of classics that you collect? If you'd like to let me know you're here but you don't have anything in particular to say, there are lots of phones on this cover of A Handful of Dust, so leave me like a phone emoji to let me know you're here. That is it for me today. I hope you guys are doing well, and I'll speak to you in my next video.